Good evening, councillors, staff, ladies and gentlemen. I invite you to bow your heads in prayer. Almighty God, we ask you to guide us in all our discussions, to show goodness, honesty, understanding and wisdom in all that we undertake for the benefit of the city of Joondalup and our residents. Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. Nala Kadich Wajak Mort Kain Karak Nijabuja. We acknowledge Noongar people as the original custodians of this land. Good evening, councillors. I declare this council meeting open at 6:30 p.m. In accordance with the recording and live streaming of council meetings council policy, this meeting will be video recorded and live streamed on the city's website, with the exception of confidential items and periods of adjournment as determined by the presiding member. Cameras have been positioned in such a way as to avoid members of the public. However, by being present at this meeting, members of the public consent to the possibility that their image may be live streamed to the public. Recordings will also be made available on the city's website following the meeting. The official record of the meeting will be the written minutes kept in accordance with the Local Government Act 1995 and any relevant regulations. Members of the public gallery are reminded it is a requirement under the Meeting Procedures Local Law 2013 to act in a courteous and respectful manner when in the council chamber. You are asked to show respect to anyone who is exercising their right to ask questions of the council and/or deliver public statements. I ask that respect extend to such people whenever they are on the city premises while waiting for or having taken their opportunity to ask questions or deliver a public statement. Under the local law, a person must not create a disturbance by interrupting or interfering with the orderly conduct of proceedings. This includes expressing approval or dissent by conversing or by any other means. Using electronic recording devices to record anyone or the meeting is also prohibited under the city's local law. I'd like to remind members of the public to show proper respect to the city's elected members and staff during these proceedings. The next item of business is declarations of interest. I've received before this meeting 2 declarations. The first is from Councillor Chester. It's an interest that may affect impartiality, as Councillor Chester has been involved in the creation of the petition and item 11.2. The next interest is from Councillor Gould. It's for item 12.6, an interest that may affect impartiality, as a staff member of 365 Solutions is known to Councillor Gould. Councillors, are there any other declarations? I received a couple more by writing. The next is from Councillor O'Neill. It's for item 11.1. and it's an interest that may affect impartiality, as Councillor O'Neill was partially involved in the petition design. And I already have done that one. Are there any other further declarations for tonight's meeting? No? Thank you. That then moves us to deputations, which was dealt with at the briefing session held on the 14th of April. We move then to public question time. There is a set of procedures relating to public question time, and I request that you follow my direction at all times. You will have the opportunity to ask 2 questions, and your questions should be directed to myself as chair and be asked in a polite and respectful manner. We keep a register in the foyer, and at this time no one has put their name down. But from the public gallery, is there anyone who wishes to ask a question? Oh. Ms. Gilbert, if you'd like to come forward.
Thank you. Faye Gilbert, 29 Northwood Way, Callaroo. Regarding the infill review, when do we, as the community, expect to see the draft strategy, please?
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Could we go to the Director for Planning or the Manager for Planning?
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for the question. As you're aware, the consultation process ended a few weeks ago, and so the consultant is now working through the multi-criteria analysis, and there'll be some work that we'll do with elected members through strategy sessions to discuss the outcomes of consultation and around a preferred option for infill. The whole project itself is a review of the complete local planning strategy, and so we would expect that whilst there'll be a report that we would expect will be coming to council in the second half of this year on the preferred approach to density, that a report itself on a draft strategy is likely to be in the first half of next year.
Thank you. Ms Gilbert?
Thank you. Regarding the North Shore Drive project, the city has applied for, I believe, 40% of the current black spotting funding so far. Could I ask how much of these funds the city has actually spent?
Thank you, Ms Gilbert. We'll go to Mr Tempresier.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through you, I'll have to take that question on notice and provide that information. Don't have that with me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Gilbert. Is there anybody else from the gallery? Mr Sideris.
Thank you. Mitch Sedaris, Page Drive, Mullaloo. I refer to the response given to my question 1.
Sorry, Mr Sideris, could you speak into the microphone, if that's all right? Thank you.
I refer to the response given to my question 1, where the city indicates it can't disclose the schedule of rates, I think it is, due to some confidential in the contract. Can I be provided with a copy of that specific clause that the city is relying on?
Thank you, Mr Sideris. We'll go to Mr Tempresier.
Thank you, and through you, Mr Mayor, the confidentiality there is that it's commercial in confidence, and as such, the tendered rates cannot be provided in public.
You haven't heard of
Mr.
the public
Sideris?
interest. That's okay. I refer to question 5, and again, the inability for the city to provide a detailed listing of all the costs associated with this project Axiom. I resubmit the question and challenge the city to have a look at its, not just its project details, but its invoicing and financial detail reports.
Thank you, Mr Sideris. We'll go to Director Humphrey.
Through Mr Mayor, clearly I have to take the question on notice to provide the detail that we can. We don't normally make available copies of invoices received from suppliers. We would normally only provide a summary of costs that the city has incurred, but we can provide some detail as to what's been spent to date and what has been particularly spent on, and we can provide that information to Mr Sideris directly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Sideris. Is there anybody else from the public gallery who wishes to ask a question? Thank you. If not, I declare public statement time closed, and that brings us to, put that to public question time closed. We then move to public statement time. There is a set of procedures relating to public statement time, and I request that you follow my direction at all times. You are able to make a statement for up to 2 minutes, and your statement should be directed to myself as chair and be polite and respectful. No questions or discussion will occur at the end of the statement. We keep a public register, so I'll just start from the top and work my way down. So if we could first, if Ms. Faye Gilbert, if you'd like to come forward to start us off.
Thank you. Faye Gilbert, 29 Northwood Way, Callaroo. Good evening, Mayor and councillors. We all know that community trust is gained very slowly, and once lost takes a lot of effort and time to return. When HOAs were created, the community's trust left this building at breakneck speed. HOA residents were even told to suck it up as the state made us do it. This time around, with the infill review, our community is watching each and every step. And sorry, but colours on a map and the state made us do it approach won't fly this time. A few years ago, the then planning minister told me that the state was looking for a well-considered, workable plan to deliver infill rather than solely drawing circles on a map. The HOA circles have remained for some time. Your community told you that they wouldn't work, and what do you know? They haven't done so on so many levels. The last public consultation phase left your community frustrated and confused. there seemed to be little understanding of our neighbourhoods or consideration for what will practically work in our streets or not. Honestly, a step backwards as regard to trust that this process will manage to match the community's expectations and deliver. Your community expects an infill strategy that the City and Council will be confident to fight for with the state planners and the Minister. One that your community can get behind. RAs and community groups impacted by HOAs across the city have gathered again, and they hope to see an infill plan with our community and neighbourhoods at its heart soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. The next person on our register is Mrs. Pauline Lewis.
Pauline Lewis from 35 Manhattan Avenue, Iluka. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councillors. This is regarding the item 11.1 from the previous council meeting regarding the petition for the Sir J. McCusker Park and having, I guess, a separation from the playground area and allowing dogs in the area. So thank you for allowing me to speak today. And I'd also like to acknowledge and thank Councillor Bettina Gold and Councillor Denise Mercer for their recent engagements as well and responsiveness in relation to this matter. I do appreciate the time they have taken to follow up with the city on my behalf. I'm here this evening to formally raise ongoing concerns regarding safety and risk at the Sir James McCusker Park, particularly in relation to the playground area. While I understand that a broader dog management review is currently underway, I would like to highlight that the issues being experienced are not just long-term policy considerations, they are current and ongoing safety concerns. The incidents I'm referring to are not something that I've heard or whatnot. It's direct involvement or things that I have observed. And I'm a parent and I'm a worried parent because I've got 2 young children and on repetitive occasions we've had a lot of issues with having our daughters step into dog waste within the actual playground area. There has been repeated incidents of off-lead dogs entering the playground area, including dogs urinating within this space where children are actively playing. Most recently, at approximately 2 p.m. on Sunday, the 12th of April, 2 off-lead dogs entered the playground within a short period of time and both urinated within the play area. In a separate incident, we directly observed an individual who brought their dogs to the edge of the playground where children commonly sit, play, and eat. The dog defecated in that area and the owner did not remove it.
Mrs. Lewis, sorry, your time has expired.
Okay. Thank you very much. I look forward to hearing from the outcome of the petition. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person on our list is Mr. Martin Dickey, if you'd like to come forward.
My name's Martin Dickey of 6 Ferndean Mews in Hillaries. Mr. Mayor, councillors, I would like to address agenda item 12.10, Council's submission on Walga's climate change advocacy position. There are 2 parts of climate change. The first admits it is happening and commits to changing the causes of global temperature increase. This is emissions reduction. The second is mitigation, dealing with the results of this global catastrophe. This report calls it addressing the impacts, and this seems to be all that Council wants to consider. Yes, there are some changes which are already in train. As this report admits, they are inevitable and irreversible because we have all started dealing too late with emissions. But it is stupidity and not worthy of the lead position that Joondalup seeks to go on emitting at the same rate and think something will turn up. The suggested amendments to item 1 to delete the words "is committed to addressing climate change" are a retreat from a commitment to deal with the causes of climate change and should not be proposed. Walga has it right. We need strong climate change action. Let us not distract from addressing the causes by concentrating only on the results. A leading authority such as a local council with Joondalup's status and aspirations must be active in the first part of climate change as well as the second. To address only risks is to ignore the causes. This stance amounts to bailing out the boat while ignoring the hole that's letting the water in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dickey. The next person on our list is Mrs. Beth Hewitt.
Beth Hewitt for Woodview Court, Edgewater. More than $10 million has been spent on Project Axiom to date, yet there remains a serious gap between what was promised and what has been delivered. Despite this, Council is being asked to approve further spending to continue to complete the project in the same direction it started. What is most troubling is that the fundamentals still appear not to have been addressed. Key elements, including a robust financial package, have not been completed or perhaps not even started. The funds already spent are public knowledge and will weaken the city's position in any current or future negotiations over pricing. Western Australia has 138 local councils and there are 537 nationwide. It is difficult to believe that none of these operate a proven core system that could not have been adopted and adapted to suit us. Industry standards exist to reduce risk and avoid costly reinvention, yet the Council has chosen a bespoke solution that leaves it isolated and exposed. With our new CEO about to commence, is it fair or responsible to lock in decisions before he has a chance to properly assess the project and offer a solution from his own experience? For these reasons, I strongly urge Council to defer any decision on Project Axiom if possible, giving the incoming CEO the opportunity to evaluate the project fully, offer his advice, and then the Council can determine the most responsible path forward. On the motion by the Mayor recently, the notice of motion on main roads, we strongly support this as it reflects our own motion at the recent Ratepayers AGM. Population growth is causing significant traffic congestion and danger on our roads, and we need them to be made safer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hewitt. Is there anybody else from the public gallery who wishes to make a statement tonight? In that case, thank you. I will declare public statement time closed. The next item is apologies and leaves of absence. I've received one apology for tonight, which is from Councillor Vinciulo. Are there any elected members requesting a leave of absence? Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
I don't want to come up there now, thanks.
That's right. Is there anybody else seeking a leave of absence? Thank you. I'm willing to move the motion. Could I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor O'Neill. We'll just do this one by show of hands. Could I have all those in favour of the item? Thank you. That carries unanimously. We then move to announcements by the presiding member without discussion.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Councillor
There
Hill.
is confirmation of minutes.
Oh, sorry. You are correct, Councillor Hill. Thank you. We'll then move to confirmation of minutes. I'm willing to move the motion. It's for the confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting on the 24th of March, the special meeting on the 31st of March and the 13th of April. I'm willing to move, seconded by Councillor Hutton. Is there any discussion on the minutes? No, we'll go straight to a vote. We'll do this by show of hands as well. Could I have all those in favour of confirming the minutes? Thank you, and that carries unanimously. We will then move to announcements by the presiding member. On behalf of the City of Joondalup, I congratulate Craig Lloyd on his appointment as the city's new Chief Executive Officer following an extensive national recruitment process. Mr. Lloyd joins us from the city of Whittlesea in Victoria, where he has served as the CEO since 2020. After beginning his career as a police officer in the United Kingdom, he has worked for more than 2 decades across local and state government, emergency management, and community services. He is a highly respected and accomplished local government leader with a proven record of strong organisational performance and positive community outcomes. We look forward to welcoming Craig to Joondalup when he commences his role on the 25th of May 2026. The City of Joondalup also invites residents and the wider community to come together for the 2026 Anzac Day Dawn Service to be held this Saturday, 25th of April at Central Park War Memorial. Hosted with the Joondalup City RSL, the service is one of Perth's largest and honours the courage and sacrifice of the Anzacs and all Australians and New Zealanders who have served in conflicts and peacekeeping missions. Anzac Day holds a special place in the heart of our community, and the ceremony will include wreath laying and free refreshments, including tea, coffee, and Anzac biscuits courtesy of the city. Attendees are asked to arrive by 5:45 a.m. and free parking is available throughout the Joondalup City Centre. The City of Joondalup was also recognised for the success of the Joondalup Drive and Lakeside Drive roundabout upgrade project. The award for the best public works project in the metro area between $2 million and $5 million was presented at the Institute of Public Works Engineering Australasia WA Excellence Awards. The project was recognised as a major improvement to one of the city's busiest intersections by enhancing safety, reducing congestion, and improving access to our city centre. The $3.1 million project was managed by the city and partly funded by the state government. The Duncraig Adventure Hub was also named a finalist in the Excellence in Innovation Metro category. Thank you. That brings us to identification of matters for which the meeting may be closed to the public. There are 2 confidential reports and 2 reports with confidential attachments. So we will be dealing with item 12.5, which is the status of legal actions, and item 12.6, confidential project Axiom final gap analysis project plan and implementation behind closed doors. If there's any discussion on the confidential attachments for item 12.13, the community funding program for round 2, this report will also need to be dealt with behind closed doors. Are there any elected members seeking to discuss the confidential attachments for item 12.13? No? Thank you. In that case, I'll just propose a motion to change the order of business, so we place those items at the end of the council agenda. I'm willing to move. Could I have a seconder for the item? Seconded, Councillor Hutton. I don't wish to speak to the item, Councillor Hutton. Any discussion? Thank you. In that case, we'll vote by show of hands on this one. Could I have all those in favour of changing the order of business? Thank you, and that carries unanimously. We then come to petitions. Are there any petitions from elected members? No? Thank you. As per the presentation of petitions protocol, petitions presented at tonight's council meeting will be received and checked for validity in accordance with clause 511 of the city's meeting procedures local law and included in next month's council agenda. So we have 1 petition relating to the adoption and control timing and strategies for growth grass management, which will achieve both reduced seed set and reduced fire risk, and a 2nd petition in relation to stopping the removal of the existing play equipment from Sherrington Park in Greenwood. Again, I'm willing to move the motion. Could I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor O'Neill. I don't wish to speak to the item. Councillor O'Neill, thank you. Any discussion? No? In that case, we'll vote. Yep. We'll vote on the screens, please, for this one. If you would cast your votes. Thank you. I declare the voting closed and the item is carried unanimously. That brings us to the reports section of tonight's agenda. Tonight I will go around anti-clockwise around the room and we'll see which items people wish to withdraw. Starting then with Councillor Hill.
None, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Hutton.
Yeah, thank you. I believe they'll already be withdrawn, but 12.6 and then obviously 12.9, which will come out.
Thank you. Councillor Mercer. Councillor Gould. Councillor May.
No, thank you.
Councillor Pizzi.
None for me, thank you.
Councillor Count.
All good for me, thank you.
Councillor Chester.
Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor O'Neill.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Fishwick.
None, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And Deputy Mayor.
I believe 12.6 will already be withdrawn.
Anything else?
Thank you.
That's it. In that case, I will withdraw item 12.6, which is confidential. I also have an alternate for item 12.9. That's just appointing the new North Central Ward Councillor, and item 12.10, which is the submission on Walga's draft climate change position. In that case, we move straight to item 12.9. Thank you. I have an alternate, which was prepared in advance. And before we move forward, Councillors Gould and Mercer, can you just confirm that it is correct for the appointments? Yes?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. I'm willing to move this one. Could I have a seconder? Second by Councillor Mercer. Yep, thank you. I don't think we need to speak to this one at length at all. Of course, we now have a new North Central Ward councillor, so that means we are going to apportion the committees in the same way as we do for all the other wards. There's 4 committees. Each councillor sits on 2 of those committees, and the alternate councillor sits as the deputy. So the committees which have been proposed are the ones which have been proposed by the 2 North Central Ward councillors. Councillor Mercer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to say that I wanted to acknowledge that I'll be stepping down for the 2 roles as the committee member for the major projects and finance. I believe Councillor Gould will perform strongly in these roles and make a valuable contribution to both committees' work. I welcome and support Councillor Gould in taking over these responsibilities, and I look forward to working collaboratively to ensure a seamless handover and the ongoing progress of the committee's priorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mercer. Are there any other comments on the item? And Councillor Fishwick, you've left your light on. Thank you. Any final comments? No, I just would like to say in closing, I think it's very positive seeing the 2 new North Central Ward councillors working together. I think they've made a great team in the short time that they've been with us, and it's been really positive, I think, for the city and for the council in general, the enthusiasm that they're bringing together to all the council meetings. So thank you. If we could vote on the item on the screen. Thank you. I declare the voting closed and the item is carried unanimously. That brings us to item 1210, the submission on Walga's draft climate change advocacy. I also have an alternate for this item. Okay. I'm willing to move. Could I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Hutton. Again, there isn't much to say on this item. The wording that's being proposed here is a compromise. We had a discussion at the strategy session about what would be the wording to put forward in relation to the submission, and around the council table that there is a wide range of opinions on climate change, but then not even just climate change, what is the best way to respond to that and what is appropriate. And what was landed on was a position to say that we should be advocating to plan for mitigating the risks associated with climate change as a centralist position, saying that we now have these responsibilities under the Act. We are required now under the Local Government Act to give regard to these matters. So if we should be advocating for what are in points A and B. Point A talks about ensuring that there is the regulatory and policy framework for what the state government now makes a responsibility of local government, and the wording there uses the same wording which is from the Act itself, which is to plan for mitigating risks associated with climate change. Those are now part of the general functions which all local governments around the state need to give regard to. And so I think it is sensible that we advocate that the state government provide policy leadership and advice and regulatory support to the extent of, at least to the extent of what are now the statutory responsibilities of all local governments. And then point 2, which is 2B, is to say that now that there are these responsibilities and we're required to give regard to them under the legislation, that we should also be asking the state government to provide appropriate funding sources and practical support to achieve what they've asked us to do. So these matters very much, it's looking at advocating to the extent of what we are now responsible for. And there's different opinions about, some people think, maybe we should go further down the route of advocating stronger. Other people say we should do less. But as a council, I think our starting point has to say that the legislative provision is clear now, that we do need to give regard to these matters when we make decisions as a local government, and that if that is now the case, the state government should support us to being able to do that in appropriate, as I said, whether that's appropriate grant structures, funding structures. And so I'd encourage everyone to try and support the motion as a unifying position. We'll go to Councillor Hutton as the seconder.
Yes, thank you. Just to echo a couple of the comments of the Mayor, Obviously, I thank everyone for having input into this topic, obviously as this has come up through previous strategy session discussions. But I also remind the Council of the substantial time that's been spent over the last couple of years discussing this topic in general. And we've obviously went over it, we've reviewed it in detail, in depth, we've made a lot of amendments and changes, and we've landed on a position as a city. So this decision here effectively aligns with what I interpreted to be that previous process we went through as a council. So yeah, thanks everyone for their input to that. The final comment I'll just make, in case those of you haven't seen it, I'll refer you to the notes for the session, which basically the officer comment basically states that the officers support this alternate, given that it aligns with the Act. So yes, as I say, I'm in support of this. I think it is a compromise of sorts, but I just reflect on the time that we've spent to land on this position. I thank everyone for their contribution and remind you that the officers do support this alternate. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fishwick.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Excuse my question here, but in relation to clause 2A, I'll just have a little bit of trouble in reading the wording after action to ensure an orderly, equitable, and to plan for, and to plan for. To me, I'm having trouble with the English there.
I can explain that one as a question. Yeah, that's all right. So it says to plan for, so planning for risks associated with climate change. And then after the comment says, and to plan for mitigating. So those are two separate actions. So to plan for risks associated with climate change is one set of actions, and then to plan for mitigating risks associated with climate change is a different set of actions. So that's how the wording is structured in the Local Government Act, because it means every local government has to perform those two functions, both planning for risks associated with climate change, so what is likely then to occur or with those probabilities, and then also to plan for mitigating risks, which is separate, if that makes sense. Thank you, Councillor Fishwick. Any further commentary? No, in that case, I'll close on this item. Given that the Local Government Act has changed, I think it's prudent that we then say, we now have these responsibilities. If we have been given these responsibilities, we should be funded appropriately to be able to undertake those. A good example is the CHARMAP process, that the review of the state planning policy and some of the requirements that are now in there to be mitigating coastal erosion relate to the state government's climate change positions and certain assumptions which are made for sea level rise. So we're now required to be funding infrastructure, or at least having plans for infrastructure to those particular levels. And if we then have to have that infrastructure or those plans in place, I think it's prudent to say the state government should be funding and providing an appropriate framework so that we understand exactly what they mean and that we're receiving funding for us to actually perform those functions that they're now asking us to perform. As I said, it's now in the Act, so we have to give some regard to this. So I think it's prudent, as I said, there is the framework and the funding to achieve it. I'll finish there. If we can then vote on the item. Thank you. I declare the voting closed and the item is carried. We'll then move to adoption by exception resolution. So that'll be most of the items on tonight's agenda. So that should be item 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, 12.4, 12.5, 12.7, 12.8, 12.11, 12.12, 13, 13.1.1, 13.1.2, 13.1.3. Does anyone have any? Yes, Councillor Hill.
So can I just check 12.5, is that correct to be on this because it's confidential?
Oh, sorry,
item?
not 12.5.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not on the list. Thank you. Does anyone wish to discuss any of these items before we move to the motion? Just to double check. No. Thank you. I'm willing to move the item. Could I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Count. I don't wish to speak to it. Councillor Count?
No, I'm happy with that one. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other debate on the item? No. Thank you. We'll go straight to a vote then, please. Thank you. I declare the voting closed and the item is carried. We'll then go to reports of the Chief Executive Officer. Any?
None, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any urgent business? No? Thank
None,
you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We then go to motions of which previous notice has been given. I have two for tonight. So the first one is for Main Roads traffic modelling analysis. Could I have a seconder for this item? Yep. Seconded by Councillor Hutton. Thank you. As most people are well aware, is that the northern suburbs continues to develop and we're seeing increased growth across the Perth metropolitan region. And as that growth continues to occur, we're also seeing significant traffic volumes now on many of the arterial roads throughout the city of Joondalup. Three of those roads in particular, Marmion Avenue, Ocean Reef Road and Wanneroo Road, which is on the eastern boundary of the city, now are seeing increased traffic that is now at various intersections. Residents are reporting concerns related to those particular roads. So what's being proposed is that we write to Main Roads Western Australia seeking traffic modelling and analysis to be undertaken for the purposes of assessing existing and projected traffic volumes and congestion levels. And the reason for this to be done is to identify further road upgrade and capacity improvements to support population growth and also employment growth here in the Northern Corridor. Additionally, hopefully by this analysis, we'll also be looking at measures to mitigate congestion-related impacts, including traffic diversion and rat running following on some of these key roads around the district. There's been a fair amount of Facebook discussion about this, but even prior to this, there's been a lot of discussion in the community about how these roads could be operating better or concerns which people are now directing towards the city. To start off with Marmion Avenue, many of the intersections on this road, people are experiencing concerns, especially at peak hour, being able to enter and exit some of their suburbs. Of particular concern is down at both Hillary's and Sorrento, at Seacrest Drive and Flinders Avenue. There's also been concerns around, once again, the question has been raised around the operating speed of the road, whether it should continue at 70, which is in line with the state government's road safety plans. But there's also been still a number of questions from the community about how we can try and improve the efficiency of the road around some of the intersections. Moving then to Ocean Reef Road, there's the traffic congestion in some places is now causing traffic to bank up from the Mitchell Freeway all the way east to Wanneroo Road and sometimes further. Now the time it's taken for people to move from employment that is now in some of those eastern suburbs in towards the Mitchell Freeway is taking a significant time with the congestion that's there with the lights, but also just the volume of traffic we're now seeing with some of those eastern suburbs beginning to develop more. Of course, there's also other concerns relating to Ocean Reef Road is the Mitchell Freeway heading south and the intersection of Ocean Reef Road and the Mitchell Freeway. We're seeing now cars using the emergency lane on the left-hand side of the road to now queue to exit on the left-hand side of the Mitchell Freeway heading southbound, which is becoming quite a concern. And of course, Wanneroo Road, where there's been a fair amount of discussion with Woodvale Drive, we're now seeing some of the traffic volumes because of the increased congestion now on Wanneroo Road. People are looking at alternate ways to make their way towards the Mitchell Freeway or to other arterial roads and seeking local distributor roads rather than the main arterial roads through the district to get to different locations. So there has been a significant amount of concern which have been raised in the community, even predating this motion, and I think it's about time we ask Main Roads to undertake this modelling so that we can start to look at so that they can start to look at what are the priorities and we can start to have those discussions with the local members about what are important advocacy topics. And of course, this is quite pressing now that we see that the East Wanneroo District Plan has been progressing as well, which is looking to accommodate another 150,000 residents, 50,000 dwellings and 20,000 new jobs. And all of those people will be looking to the road networks around our district or transiting through our district to get to either employment or other opportunities in the Northern Corridor. So I think it's very important that there is an evidence-based understanding of what the current and future network performance would look like. And I think it's appropriate that we also try and assist Main Roads in prioritising future upgrade works. So I think it's an important motion, and I think given the concern from the community, I think it's something that's timely for us to do. Councillor Hutton is the seconder.
Yes, thank you, and thanks to you, Mayor, for putting forward this motion. It'll be no surprise to members of council that issues with our road network is something I'm very passionate about, particularly when it comes to the perceived decision of the state government to make cheap solutions to problems instead of the correct solutions. So of course I'm there referring to Marmion Avenue, where we've saw instead of the intersections being upgraded appropriately, instead of slip lanes being installed and roundabouts and the like, it always seems to be the option is cut the speed limits, slow down traffic, put in more traffic lights. These are obviously not the desires of the community. So effectively when the community gives that feedback, the solution is basically just to do nothing. So I think this is a very important step to actually demonstrate that there is an issue and there is actually practical solutions that are supported and desired by the community. In terms of costs impediment, I would point out that the state government at the moment is spending record amounts in transport infrastructure. Most of that spending is being spent in newer areas when it comes to train line constructions and road constructions and the like. But I think what's often forgotten is that cities like Joondalup are both being asked to increase the number of dwellings through infill, which has an impact, but also they're being used as commuter suburbs where people actually, drive through. So the infrastructure is definitely not kept up. There's already been discussions about One Roo Road and the impact that's having on Woodfield Drive and surrounding roads, which is something which definitely needs to be addressed. And the point's also been raised, as I've previously raised, about the knock-on impact this is having onto the freeway. I know Ocean Reef Road has been, as has been mentioned, seeing cars effectively left with no choice but to pull up on the emergency lane to prevent the blocking of traffic. It's clear that the investment in these roads has not been keeping up with the needs of the community, and there are many more examples. I know the Mayor made reference to Facebook commentary. I think all of us have routes we travel on a daily basis, but there's routes we do not travel, and the areas where you see the issues personally, be aware that the issues exist in a much higher number across the entirety of the district, and I think that's why it's so important that we do have this proper analysis. So yes, in summary, what we need here is a full plan that isn't just about quick fixes, but it's actually about long-term solutions. And we need to have the appropriate roadmap required to get our fair share of funding into Joondalup when it comes to transport infrastructure and funding. So I encourage you all to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hutton. Councillor May.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for the motion as well. Just a quick question before comment, if I can. I just wanted to clarify, is Whitford's Ave in its entirety or sections of Whitford's Ave under Main Roads, and which sections are they, if so?
Thank you. Go to Mr Tempresier, or the Acting Director for Infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, and through Mr Mayor. Whitford's Avenue is completely the responsibility of the city. Ocean Reef Road might be the one, Councillor May, you're thinking about, that where there's part of that is with Main Roads.
Great, yeah, thank you. I recall a number of years ago we signed over responsibility for the last remaining section of Ocean Reef Roads to Main Roads. My observations over my life driving around Perth is the Northern Corridor is almost the poorer cousin when it comes to infrastructure upgrades. If you go south of the river, the Kwinana Freeway has got amazing interchanges and more free-flowing traffic, and the main arterial road south of the river generally more kept up to date than what we have up here, unfortunately. Two issues I observe as well. I won't mention Whitford's Ave because it's the City of Joondalup, but the bridges that go over the freeway at both Ocean Reef Road and Whitford's Ave, and potentially probably Hepburn as well, you've got 1.5 turning lanes heading eastbound onto the southbound freeway. So those bridges were built about 35 to 45 years ago, or 40 years ago. to cater for Perth's traffic volumes at the time. And anyone who commutes to the train station onto the freeway at peak hour time knows how difficult that is as well. So that's hopefully this motion will also look at that as well, because I think an advocacy position could potentially be to widen those bridges or improve those bridges somehow, so there's enough lanes of traffic, so you have 2 dedicated turning lanes onto the freeway like you have at newer intersections such as Hodges Drive, rather than one. In terms of Ocean Reef Road, I've observed over the years increased traffic volume. I saw a big jump in the bottleneck at Joondalup Drive and Ocean Reef Road about 10 odd years ago when Wanneroo Road the overpass was built. So there was less time spent at the previous bottleneck, and it pushed the bottleneck into Joondalup. So that's another issue we probably need to look at addressing as well. I'm not sure what the solution is, but hopefully the analysis that's done will point us in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor May. Any further commentary? Councillor Chester.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I wonder, well, first of all, I hope your notice of motion gets passed, and if it does, could I respectfully request in our communication with Main Roads WA that we draw attention particularly to the Julius Path, which runs through the regional park and crosses over Ocean Reef Road. There's no indication for motorists who are travelling most of the time above the speed limit, I think, in that location. No indication to motorists that there are cyclists and pedestrians wanting to cross that road. That's about 100 metres east of Trappers Drive, I believe. If we could draw particular attention to that danger spot, in my opinion, I'd very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chester. Any further commentary? Councillor Pizzey.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to briefly acknowledge the Mayor's motion and the community concerns driving it. And I want to be clear that I support seeking traffic modelling on these state-managed corridors. That work is long overdue. However, I have to be direct about a significant concern with this motion as it stands. Woodvale Drive is referenced in the context of rat running and traffic diversion, and I am uncomfortable that this motion, as worded, does not explicitly rule out solutions that would see that rat running and diversion treated as acceptable outcomes or even formalised through road upgrades. As it stands tonight, a future report could come back to this council recommending that Woodvale Drive, a local distributor road, already operating well beyond its design capacity of 6,000 vehicles per day at approximately 8,000, be upgraded for reclassified to absorb that overflow. And this council, by supporting this motion tonight without qualification, could be seen as having opened that door. I'm not prepared to leave that door open. Woodvale Drive is a local distributor road, and it must remain one. The residents who live along it did not choose to live on an arterial road, and they should not have that imposed on them through the back door of a traffic modelling exercise. The solution to congestion on Marmion Avenue, Ocean Reef Road and Wanneroo Road must be found on those roads, not offloaded onto our local streets. I will support this motion tonight, but I am placing this concern unequivocally on the public record, and when this report returns to council, I will be holding both the city and Main Roads to the position that Woodvale Drive is not a solution to regional congestion. Residents can be assured that protecting Woodvale Drive and the people who live along it remains a priority for me, and I will continue to advocate strongly for that outcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further commentary? Thank you. I will close on the item then. I think it's probably best to address Councillor Pizzey's concerns first, given us the last speaker. I would just look to the second half of the motion where it says mitigate congestion-related impacts, including traffic diversion and rat running. So the point of this motion is to mitigate traffic diversion onto the local road network, including roads such as Woodvale Drive. And rat running is when people use alternate local roads rather than arterial distributor roads. And I would say, as far as the officer's comment, and on page officer's comment, and I'd point to bullet point 3, that undertaking comprehensive traffic analysis on Marmion Avenue, Ocean Reef Road, and on Wanneroo Road would, point 3, support the city's advocacy efforts to protect local road networks from through traffic and congestion impacts. So this is about protecting the local road network and roads such as Woodvale Drive. So on a personal point of view, I don't really have the same concerns that Councillor Pizzey has. As far as more broadly about this motion, I'd encourage everyone to support it. I think everyone around the table knows that there are significant concerns, particularly on these roads. They've been raised from the community, and that's why this has been brought forward. I think we have to do our best to try and sort out some of these concerns, and that's by starting this off with writing to Main Roads, is starting the advocacy to say the work for traffic modelling analysis needs to be undertaken so we can start to understand these concerns and also move towards solutions to, of course, prevent some of the significant concerns residents are raising, such as traffic diversion onto local roads such as Woodvale Drive, but then also intersection problems as well. Touching on Councillor Chester's point about the crossing on Ocean Reef Road, last year I did put up a motion for having a pedestrian crossing between Woodvale and Edgewater. That has been progressing, and I know Main Roads has been considering that quite carefully. We're sort of at the latter stages of that. This motion, of course, goes to that sort of thinking as well, is that if there is increased congestion on these arterial roads, how do pedestrian and cyclists now cross them? And I think it's quite right that Councillor Chester raises and identifies those concerns. But for a lot of residents as well, is that this is affecting their daily lives. It's not something that's off on the side. It is part of the daily concerns that they're having to navigate, whether it's unsafe intersections, leaving their homes, or whether it's traffic delays they're now experiencing getting to and from work, visiting friends, or places for entertainment. So I think it's an important consideration for everyone, and I encourage the council to unanimously support it. Thank you. Vote on the item, please. Thank you. I declare the voting closed and the item carried unanimously. We'll then move to motion 2. Could I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor May. Thank you. Again, this is quite a straightforward motion. So it's requesting the CEO to prepare a report on current and planned and potential improvements for Trappers Drive between Whitfords Avenue and Woodvale Drive, and then also along the length of Woodvale Drive. This has been a significant concern which has been raised by residents for the last 5 years. These are not new concerns, and then these are not concerns that are being overplayed. Trappers Drive is a critical corridor for many of the residents to use, and for the local residents in Woodvale to be able to transit onto Whitfords Avenue. The current intersection arrangements around Whitfords Avenue and around the local shops at the Woodvale Boulevard is causing significant concern with traffic entering and exiting the local shops. But then also, as we've spoken about earlier today, the rat running and the additional congestion which is now being pressed onto Woodvale Drive, is that I think it's time for us to look at these concerns with clear direction, and I think preparing a report on these items is timely for us to proceed with. At the same time, by looking at preparing a report, it also helps the city identify external funding opportunities and acknowledges the long-term concerns which the residents have been raising. So a lot of residents have raised concerns around Woodvale Drive and continue to, and I think we need to look at what can we do into the future, both to prevent additional congestion on the road, as is what's included in the reason for the motion, that the reason why this is being raised is that the vehicle movements per day have increased from beyond what is the recommended maximum for a local distributor road. They're now operating around 8,000, and this motion is saying that is a problem, and those numbers now need to be ameliorated and tried to be adjusted down by encouraging people not to use the road, but also, as in the previous motion, looking at ways we can prevent people from using Woodvale Drive. So, but at the same time, there are the safety concerns which people are raising on the road with the local schools, Woodvale Senior High School, and then also the users of Yellowgonga Regional Park, and also many of the concerns around vehicle impacts for kangaroos and other wildlife. So I think these are timely concerns that need to be addressed, and I encourage people to support the motion. Councillor Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to echo your comments, but also just to add, it has always been an issue, but it has gotten worse in recent years. I remember back in between 2014 and 2016, 17, when I worked for the former member for Kingsley, it was an issue that was commonly raised in the context of getting out of Woodvale Boulevard Shopping Centre to turn onto Trappers Drive. Since that time, obviously, there's been population growth in Woodvale through infill, but also the development of a Chianti estate, which uses Woodvale Boulevard as our local shopping centre, as well as the increase in rat running along Woodvale Drive due to a number of other factors. I've always struggled to know what the ideal solution would be without the shopping centre realigning its roads and exit points. And obviously, hopefully, a holistic approach will be found where the shopping centre is able to engage and look at how they can redesign their layout as well. So I support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor May. Any further comments? Councillor Pizzey.
Yes, thank you. Before indicating my support for this motion, I have a few questions for the city. Firstly, we received a report on this corridor last year. Will the city be building on that existing report, or will this be a new body of work?
Go to Mr. Tempresier.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor, the city will take into consideration the previous report. That previous report specifically looked at the ingress and egress out of the shopping centre, and that was following the, from memory, the McDonald's development on that site. We're not going to throw that away. We will use that and build upon that, and then looking at the wider network, potentially what can be done to the intersection of Woodvale Drive and Trappers Drive as well. Yes.
Beautiful, thank you.
Councillor Pizzey.
And what time frame would the city anticipate bringing a response back to council?
Mr. Tempresier.
Through Mr. Mayor, have not contemplated the exact time frame. We will have to build that into the overall work program, noting delivery of capital works and grant-funded projects as well. But as part of a potential funding application, as per the officer's comment, we're looking at potential black spot funding applications, so that this corridor treatment would assist in informing that. I don't know if the acting director has got something to add, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, Councillor Biddy. We're actually currently working through our submission to apply for black spot funding in the next month or so. That involves a roundabout at the corner of Woodvale and Trappers. And through that roundabout, we're hoping that it'll actually also mitigate some of the turning issues out of the shopping centre that Councillor May has also referenced, where we'll be able to divert the traffic through to the roundabout and have them go around it instead of trying to turn southbound, which is causing obviously traffic conflicts there.
Councillor Pizzey.
Thank you. You actually answered my next two questions, I think, with that response there. I'll just add to it, yes, you answered my response about the roundabout, so thank you. That's really, I think that would be welcome. Just touching on the shopping centre, there are multiple entrances and exit points along Trappers Drive from Woodvale Boulevard Shopping Centre. And my understanding is they're owned by different people, so that is becoming an issue of how we fix that. It makes it more tricky, I understand that. But it is also creating real dangers for drivers and pedestrians along that road, and a lot of people do dangerous U-turns at that point. It's my local shopping centre, so I avoid it and I go around the other way because it is difficult. So are we going to, as a part of this, also bring it together those property owners and address these access points through this process?
Mr. Acting Director. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. Yes, as part of this process, and that's why we're a little bit unsure on the timelines, is we've got to have those discussions with all the landowners. As you've rightly said, there's several different parties involved. There's some solutions that we think are fairly easy to progress, as in this roundabout and that initial shopping centre entry point that's nearby. but the second, third and fourth ones in that area, it's going to take a little bit more work, especially when you start working around the lights that are there, the traffic signals, I should say, sorry.
Councillor Pizzey?
Fair enough, thank you. With those questions on the record, I want to indicate my strong support for this motion. The safety concerns on Trappers Drive and Woodvale Drive have been raised consistently by residents in my ward and I have been actively hearing and engaging with those concerns. I'd also draw the council's attention to an additional and growing pressure on that corridor. There is a multi-storey medical centre currently under construction in that shopping precinct. Trappers Drive is already a busy road and this development will bring significant additional traffic volume to what is already a recognised hotspot. This is something that I've been working through with the city and it reinforces exactly why a consolidated forward-looking report is needed now rather than later, and I look forward to a report that gives us a clear picture of what has been done, and I thank the city for all your answers tonight. And what is already underway and what more can be done. The community deserves a coordinated and transparent long-term response, and I think this motion is an important step forward to delivering that, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pizzey. Any further comments on the item? No, I just wish to close is that this area is now being singled out as residents as being a significant concern. And this isn't a new issue. This is an issue which residents have been petitioning and raising concerns around it for nearly 5 years. I'm sure Councillor May, being one of the ward councillors for a while, has been aware and was remembered a lot of those discussions. And there was Ms. Gilbert, who was here today, was one of the petitioners back 5 years ago, and I think was supported by Ms. Suzanne Apps as well. So it's been something which residents have been looking to try and get solutions for quite a period of time, and I hope that this can bring together a consolidated approach to deal with those real concerns which we're now seeing at the Woodvale Boulevard shops, and of course with the increased pressure on the local road networks from congestion that is now being pressed from the state roads onto them. So I'd encourage everyone to support this motion. Thank you. If we could vote on the screens, please. Thank you. I declare the voting closed and the item carried unanimously. We then have a motion to close the meeting to members of the public. I'd like to thank everyone in the public gallery for attending tonight. It seems to be a bit of a shorter public section tonight, but thank you for attending and your interest in tonight's council meeting. I'm willing to move the motion which is on the screen. Could I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Hill. Any discussion on the item? No, in that case, we'll go by vote of show of hands. Could I have all those in favour of the item? Thank you, and it's carried unanimously. Thank you. Could I get the motion on the screen that's just passed? I'm starting with 12.5, if that's all right. So that's the... Okay. So in accordance with clause 5.2 of the city's meeting procedures local law, it's required that the presiding member read out the motions of any resolutions of council when the meeting was closed to the public. So in relation to item 12.5, council has resolved that council notes the status of legal action report for matters that may have a contingent liability and are unresolved for the month of March 2026. Moving then to the item on Project Axiom, item 12.6, that council has resolved that 1, notes the deliverables produced during phase 1, including the gap analysis, project plan and implementation plan, which will guide the commencement of phase 2. Point 2, approves the appointment of 365 Solutions Consulting Pty Ltd for phase 2 of the Enterprise Business Platform Project Management and Implementation as specified in tender 625 of the submitted schedule of rates, at the submitted schedule of rates. And point 3, request the temporary chief executive officer to finalize and negotiate the necessary contract and statement of works documentation with 365 Solutions Consulting Proprietary Limited for implementation services for subsequent consideration and approval by council. Point 4, request the temporary chief executive officer to arrange for a third party such as Microsoft to validate the implementation plan and statement of works. Point 5, request the chief executive officer to review the schedule of rates internally. Point 6, approves 365 Solution Proprietary Limited to proceed with the following critical activities while the documentation referred to in part 3 above is being finalized in order to minimize risk to city operations, that being core financials, rates module, and critical security updates. Point 6, notes the estimated implementation partner costs as detailed in the report, which is subject to CPI and escalation adjustments. And finally, point 8, requests the temporary chief executive officer to set a clear dollar value on the totals proposed to be paid to the vendor to be included in the contract in part 3. In that case, we'll have a motion to resume the order of business in accordance with clause 4.3. I'm willing to move. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Hill. If I have this motion by show of hands, all those in favour? Thank you. That carries unanimously. We'll then move to 17, announcements of motion for the next meeting. Are there any members wishing to flag their intention to raise a notice at the next meeting? Thank you. In Kelly, we'll then close the meeting. That concludes tonight's council meeting, and I hereby close the meeting at 9:06 p.m. Thank you everyone for attendance, and thank you those from the public gallery.